So welcome everybody to the webinar Scaling Your Business with Limited Resources, how Empowered Business Central helps Companion partners grow. I think it's a very common theme, of course, in our channel, so to say, dealing with limited resources, and question to the people to please mute yourself. Thanks. Um, a very common theme, of course, and in this webinar we are going to share how Empowered Business Central could help overcome a few of those challenges. First of all, my name is William van Voorthuijsen. I'm the business line manager for Empowered at Companial, working at Companial for more or less nearly 10 years. Been experienced in the channel, and as responsible for Empowered, I thought it would make sense to show you a bit why we have come up with Empowered and how you as a partner can deal with the challenges, limited resources, etc. to overcome it. Because you, for example, as a mid-sized Business Central partner, you know the challenge, right? Because I can imagine it's the same for you. You want to grow, you want to scale, and you want maybe even you're considering entering into new industries. But we all have to deal with limited resources and, of course, the talent shortages and all the typical operational inefficiencies, right? Like maintenance, deployments, etc. And we see that the reality is that relying too much on all those customizations and do everything yourself basically slows down your progress. A few of those partner challenges, we can list them, of course, as the capacity to develop new distinctive features and services. What do I mean with that? Of course, the obvious generic theme, like I already mentioned before, resources are an issue in the channel. But even if you have the resources, it's of course important that they're working on the right things. So instead of dealing all with those legacy customers you're having with all those individual customizations, etc., probably you want your development team to spend time on creating new distinctive features. And of course, since years now, most of the partners have fully migrated to SaaS with their own IP, so with their own extensions. That has been finished, so to say, but now, of course, new obstacles are there with, for example, the ongoing maintenance on your solutions. With all those updates of Microsoft is pushing, you need to be compatible with it, and of course a lot of capacity constraints are related to that. A more unique one, or at least a challenge where not too much is spoken about, is churn. And of course, everybody hates churn, nobody wants to lose customers. But we see, and that's also what we hear from several partners, is that they are losing customers to other providers. Of course, now with the NCE framework on Microsoft with regards to licensing, also the what we call the modern workplace resellers, or whatever you call it, the Office 365 partners, so to say, they are also able to sell Business Central licenses. And what you typically see is that, especially in the lower end of SMB, companies do have a party for their ERP system. So you being the Business Central reseller, and often they have another party for their more generic IT infrastructure, Azure, Office, etc. And since those parties are also able to sell the Business Central license to them, we see that partners are facing churn because those partners are often really aggressive in the pricing of their BC licenses. Well, they can of course not compete with you if you look at expertise and the ability to really support and transform those customers. And the last one, a challenge, is of course with Business Central SaaS, where the retail price, so the end customer retail price, is basically a given fact. Because it's publicly available on the website, we have to deal basically with a commodity product with public pricing, and that's of course could cause some constraints with regards to make a profitable deal for your customers. Looking at those challenges, they come from multiple sides. Like I already mentioned, Microsoft is, of course, heavily pushing to SaaS, and they even imagine that now everybody is on SaaS. Now they are pushing to Copilot, etc. But we are still dealing, of course, with that quite frequent update cycle of Business Central, which also has huge impact on your capacity. Then, of course, we have your own organization with the lack of resources, the increasing costs, and of course the revenue growth, because with those subscription pricing on Business Central, you really need to create a lot of volume to earn a lot of money. To create a lot of volume, you need a lot of capacity. And of course, we are coming back to that later on as well. And a third pillar, which we should not forget, is of course the customers themselves, right? Where 5 to 10 years ago, they were really relying on you in terms of what's available in the market, and you could basically educate them on all the possible solutions. Nowadays, customers are way more educated, so they know what's out there in the market. They know maybe even sometimes how long it will take for a rather generic implementation of Business Central. They want more and better features, and they want to have them often really on short term, right? So they want also have a quick onboarding instead of an implementation project, right? With an implementation project, we're thinking about months, and customers are now demanding quick onboarding procedures. Maybe start with 3 modules, and then later on, well, there you go, and you need to implement more. And of course, they also expect from you that you are their proactive, trusted advisor. So you are able to educate them on new opportunities, for example, in the Microsoft stack. So we can really say, and that's also what we feel, and what we feel with you, is that the pressure is on Dynamics partners to offer first standardized solutions, to realize a higher customer acquisition rate. Remember the volume I mentioned, you need a lot more volume. So with that, of course, you need a higher customer acquisition rate to boost your revenue. And with standardized solutions, that's also, of course, one of the main themes of this webinar, we are saying that please try to avoid those needed customizations, right? Of course, sometimes there is no other option, but the pressure is on you to come up with standardized solutions to basically also make yourself capable of having a higher customer acquisition rate, right? Basically, it all is related to capacity once again. Because, once again, since we are talking about limited resources, it's harder to attract new people, and also if you have them in your company to keep them in, so to say. And what we see, and that's of course also related, is that often they are working on the wrong things. And of course it's stated over here a little bit bold, but based on resource, and of course it's not about exact percentages, but what's really the high over key takeaway of this research, and with that my message is that we see, and also what we hear from partners, is that a lot of the development capacity, for example, is busy with the code maintenance, with the testing, do everything yourself in-house, right? And that's of course a decision. I'm not going to argue on that, but really there is not too much time left to work on new, distinctive, compelling and impactful features for your own IP, where you're serving your customers with. So for example, one of the partners over here in the Netherlands, which I'm in regular contact with, they were sharing their concerns, basically, probably two years ago, something like that. Like, yes, we do have our development team, and they are all busy, but they are busy on all those current customers, which are not always on the same version with their own customizations. Well, we do have raw ideas on creating new impactful features for our vertical or our specific niche where we are focusing on. But because of all the legacy, we are not able to focus on that and free up development capacity to work on those things. Come back to that later on as well. The question, of course, then might be, since we're now, the message is all around the negative side, so to say, is, but what will then drive Dynamics Partners' success in the next decade? And of course, I'm with you if you are thinking about, for example, your goals for 2025, like finding strategic opportunities. And those strategic opportunities could be outsourcing some of your stuff, for example, the testing procedures, or if you want to collaborate with other people to basically have a pool of resources, etc. Another thing is, of course, to implement scalable solutions. With scalable solutions, we mean, of course, back to the intro, the standardized solutions which are easily repeatable in terms of deploy them for each and every customer you are serving in a specific industry or in a specific vertical. And of course, like I already mentioned, we're truly with you if your goals are to deliver your projects faster and more efficiently, right? If you want to have that higher customer acquisition rate, also the duration of your project should be way shorter. And what to think about, for example, your opportunities to stand out from competition. And with competition, that means other Dynamics Business Central resellers, but also the Modern Workplace resellers I mentioned before. And of course, maybe you are considering a Kickstarter to enter a new specific industry. Basically, if you would summarize that, those goals, and on how to, and if you're searching for probable solutions to overcome those challenges, is that if you would all summarize them, we truly believe that it's all about leveraging their distinctive value. That's what partners in 2025 and of course in the coming years will make successful. And of course, we as Companial are serving our partners, right? That's also our mission, which you can find on the website. It's all about empowering every Dynamics partner to exceed expectations. We, of course, want to exceed your expectations towards us, but we also want to enable you to exceed the expectations of your customers. And we want to empower you in your day-to-day operations. And since probably you are all familiar with Companial, next to the licensing services and all those technical services, we 2 years ago more or less thought it would also make sense to serve you with own IP. So we as Companial are also basically empowering our partners with IP, IP on top of the Business Central solutions Microsoft is delivering. So that's basically the bridge to Empowered, and that's why I'm going to dive into how Empowered could help you to scale your business with limited resources. Because for the ones who don't know, Empowered is our umbrella brand for all our IP we are serving our partners with. And I'm going to dive into what that means and what, of course, the link is to scale your business. So what will the future look like? And this is truly something what we do believe. So as our experts in our organization are also, of course, always busy on strategic business opportunities, not for just Companion itself, but also for our partners. We think that Dynamics partners who will be cloud first, which is, I would suggest and imagine, rather obvious today, and fully monetizing their distinctive IP. Those partners will become successful. That's basically what the promised land is, so to say. And by monetizing your distinctive IP, we of course mean to have your own IP, develop new IP, but also, like I said, you need to maintain your own IP. So one of the things you could do is, of course, considering to spend less time on maintenance yourself. And that's basically doable in two ways. Either you make sure that you don't have to maintain, Or of course, you could also outsource your maintenance. For example, one of the technical services Companial is offering is the extension maintenance service, and where you can basically outsource the maintenance, but we are not going to dive into that today. But the first one I mentioned, you could make sure that you do not have too much to maintain. Come back to that in a minute with an example. And of course, you would have like to have a faster time to market, and for a faster time to market you need a more standardized solution which is richer. What do I mean with richer? If we look at Business Central, we of course all love Business Central, and we more or less probably love Microsoft as well, but we all know that Business Central from the shelf of Microsoft do have his own gaps and features we are lacking. And if you have a more enhanced version of Business Central with more of those generic gaps already pre-filled, that makes you able to have a faster time to market, to have a higher customer acquisition rate, because you're over and over again deploying that richer version of Business Central. Also, if you look at your customers, we say that from those partners, their customers are empowered to a secure, Microsoft is of course taking care of that, a simple and future-proof business solution. What do we mean with simple and future-proof? Simple is as less customizations as possible, and future-proof means basically the platform we've chosen, right? And that's of course an obvious one. If you have Business Central, then you are future-proof, is what we all do believe, because we are Business Central resellers, so to say. But future-proof also means to have a lean deployment, as lean deployment as possible, to make sure that all those updates and the frequent update rhythm of Microsoft is not too difficult for you to follow. If we put that into a picture, we basically say, and the partners who will become successful, the promised land I sketched a few minutes ago, we say, okay, the big winners will have focus on what makes them special. And we were talking about creating distinctive value. And those who insist on doing everything themselves will lose their market position. Of course, once again, this is stated bold, but just to make sure that our strategy and vision lands with you, we say, okay, partners who want to become successful should really focus on what makes them special, and everything which does not generate distinctive value, try to get rid of it. So for example, if you look at the picture on the right hand side, of course, if we are serving our customers with Business Central from Microsoft, we get the standard Business Central as is from the shelf of Microsoft. On top of it, based on all the decades, the legacy we had from the past, we have built our own customizations in the past. A lot of small customizations, often those small customizations ended up in a so-called mono block, where basically you have an app which contains a lot of your customization from the past. Simply to fill in all those gaps Microsoft is leaving behind in the product. And if you're, for example, serving a specific niche or specific industry, that's where you really are shining, right? Because if you are in the transport industry, for example, and you're specialized in serving customers who are transporting fresh food, probably you have developed features specifically needed by those customers. Or if you're in the printing industry, you probably have solutions which are really tailored to the customers in that industry. And that's where you're generating your distinctive value, because there you have you show off to your customers that you do have the features they need for their business processes in that specific niche and industry. And of course, next to the product, it's of course your expertise, right? Because that's not something we are talking about today. We are talking about, of course, the product side of it. But next to the features, of course, it's also your expertise where you're generating your distinctive value. But the issue is basically, and that's what the bridge is of the team of today, how to scale your business with limited resources. So basically do less and rely on Empowered Business Central, which helps you to grow, is this area. So the generic customizations. You simply need them to fulfill the requirements of your end customers or new potential end customers. but it's not really generating distinctive value, because if you would have asked end customers, they probably would have assumed that it would be already in the product straight from the shelf of Microsoft. For example, I always use the example, and probably if you have spoken with me before, you've heard it a couple of times already. For example, is pallet handling, right? If you are a partner with a specific focus on the wholesale industry, of course you need to have pallet handling in your solution. And if you would pick 10 Business Central resellers serving that specific industry, all 10 of them will have something around pallet handling. Slightly different, of course, but they do have it. And if you would have asked the end customers, they would assume that it would already be in the product side from Microsoft. So you're not generating really distinctive value over there. So that's why we say with Empowered Business Central, Companial is taking care of that generic IP where you are not generating distinctive value with. Let us take care of that. So you only have to focus on creating distinctive features for your customers in your specific industry. If we then cover that generic IP, that basically means that we are offering a enhanced, more premium version of Business Central with a lot of additional features and functionalities already pre-included in Business Central as a standardized solution, so you do not need to customize and fill in those gaps yourself. Those are rather generic. You could argue that most of the features are horizontal focused, and those are also community crafted. What do I mean with community crafted? The features we have, either we have built them from scratch based on suggestions and feedback from the community. We get a lot of feedback and suggestions from our partners. Hey, could you please also include this or that in Empowered Business Central? We sometimes also build something completely from scratch ourselves. And of course, we are also always having our eyes and ears open in the field to see if there are interesting companies with interesting IP which would be of interest for us to collaborate with or whatsoever. We package that layer, so that empowered IP on top of Business Central is pre-packaged with Business Central for just a single price. It's easy to deploy and set up, and it's developed and maintained and supported fully by our own organization. So that layer, where we are basically taking away a lot of hassle from you with all those customizations, so you don't need to maintain them yourself. We are of course freeing up capacity, which is a solution to solve the limited resource team. Of course, we are the whole lot of extra features which you then don't need to customize yourself or develop yourself, maintain yourself, etc. So you could think about things like a document management system, more promotions and actions features. We have a complaint management module which is not available in Business Central at all. We have a quality control feature where you can perform tests on incoming and outgoing goods, a small rental management solutions, and of course a lot more. For that, sticking to that perspective, if you need to choose between vanilla Business Central and or Empowered Business Central, of course, next to the resource constraints we were diving into in the last couple of minutes, it's freeing up capacity because of we are taking care of the maintenance. There are less features to maintain for you, and you have a more standardized solution, so you can have a higher customer acquisition rate because you can deal with more projects in a year. If you think about let's imagine you have a new customer, potential customer, and you're really thinking about, okay, next to solving those resource constraints, what are all the differences? It's good to know that speaking about standing out from competition, which was also one of the challenges I mentioned in the intro, is that Business Central is of course publicly available, also even at the modern workplace resellers. Well, Empowered Business Central, so that much richer version of Business Central, is of course a Companial exclusive, which can help you because remember that example that we said that partners are facing churn because of customers are aggressively basically taking away of them by those modern workplace resellers. If you would sell them Empowered Business Central, when those customers are relying on 2, 3, 4, 5 features out of that bundle of 15 to 20 features, then they cannot be grabbed away by those modern workplace resellers anymore, because they are relying on that feature which they only could get from you instead of their modern workplace reseller. I elaborated already way more, of course, on the flexibility to define your own retail price and your margin. But for now, in this webinar, the most important one is, of course, the difference between Business Central as is and Empowered Business Central, which is a more comprehensive version of Business Central, because it includes way more features and functionalities, which solves, I'm not saying it solves 100% of the issue, of course, but it's really helping you to reduce the development capacity needed on, once again, the customizations, the maintenance, etc. And you're able to have a higher acquisition rate of customers because you can deal with more projects a year, because you're having a standardized approach which you can simply copy paste for every customer, so it's way shorter in terms of duration. So with Empowered, like I said before, it's a Companial exclusive. We truly believe that we are enabling long-term competitiveness for you and revenue growth for those distinctive partners. Like I said, the promised land partners who are really creating and focusing on the distinctive value, those are the ones who will be successful in the next decade. So I touched already quite a few of those topics, how Business Central, of course, the Empowered Business Central can help you to grow, to scale your business with those limited resources. I would love to summarize those. So, of course, the obvious one, overcoming those resource constraints. If you are reducing the reliance on those specialized developers, so once again, free up your probably good developers from the generic customizations by using a pre-built industry functionality, Empowered Business Central, of course, then those specialized developers can be used for creating new distinctive features, because that's really something which should be done today, right? Another one is the scaling. I mentioned it a couple of times before. If you are making use of standardized solution, you can handle more customers a year, because of the duration of the project will be way shorter, and of course you have less to maintain on a per customer level, because you're relying less on those individual customizations per customer. Of course, since those empowered bundles for those industries, like I said, and a lot of those features, you could argue that they are rather horizontal, but for example, features like the rental management feature is something which probably could be a step up for you to enter a new specific industry, because probably normally you would not search for customers in the rental business, because it's not your expertise and it's not in the product, so you're basically behind 2 points. Well, if you are having a product where rental management is included, then it's only, of course you need to work on the expertise, but it could really give you a kickstart to enter a new specific industry. And with the probability to define your own retail price and with that your margin, of course you can boost your margin and your revenue, and with that of course your profitability. And last but not least, it can also help you to navigate through the Microsoft changing partner ecosystem. Please remember that example I gave about those modern workplace resellers. So there's more type of resellers out there in the channel you have to deal with and to see as competition. And we truly believe that something like Empowered Business Central could give you that advantage over those other type of resellers which are there in the channel. And then I would definitely say that it is possible to scale your business with limited resources. Think again about that picture I showed before about those winners, right? If you look at the icon, it should be really focus on what makes you distinctive. Everything what's not making you standing out from competition is probably something you should get rid of. And of course, I'm stating it a bit bold, but please think along that way if you're thinking about your changes for 2025 or even 2026 already. Some useful information to share with you. First of all, and that's something which you will see in the thank you email you will get as well, we have a 5-day 30-minute program, because we understand that for people like you're very busy with your daily operations. It could be a hassle to find time to dive into all the new opportunities with Empowered Business Central. So for that, we have developed a 5-day 30-minute program where you can on demand, you will be guided through all the relevant information and detailed functionalities in those industry bundles. If you want to learn more yourself, of course, you can go to our website, so companial.com/empowered/functionalities, where all the functionalities are listed with a short description, what the value is of those features. Also, we have manual videos on how you can configure those features for your last year, a couple of demo series. And of course, those demo series have been recorded. So for each and every feature where there has been a demo in the past, there's also a recorded demo session available on demand. So that should really give you the kickstart if you want to learn more about those specific features. Additionally, if you want to become more familiar with it, we offer our partners a free reseller license. That basically means we give you a free version of Empowered to use in a sandbox. So if you are having sandboxes internally for training purposes or demo purposes or whatsoever, you can get Empowered Business Central for free. Basically with the purpose to play around with it, test it, and simply become familiar with it. With that, I would love to thank you for joining this webinar of today, where I try to give you some insights on how we believe Empowered Business Central could help you to scale your business with limited resources.